Hey, hi, Vibers. Today we're going to talk about a time in our businesses when it wasn't so high vibe. Welcome to your High Vibe Business. I'm Laura DeFranco.
And I'm Donnie Bovine.
And we are here to help you create your badass high vibe business.
What does it mean to have a high vibe business? It's that business you're excited about. It lights you up and it helps you unleash that inner badass and really go for it.
You are a lover and a warrior, and you're here to change the world with your business. We will give you the strategy and resources you need to take this all to the next level.
You shouldn't do this alone. Start hanging out with other badass entrepreneurs and watch how fast your business grows.
You guys, Donnie Bovine runs a successful coaching and speaking business, and he's spent over 2 decades mastering sales.
And Laura DeFranco is an expert healer, 2 times business owner, 6-time published author, and spoken word poet.
Together, we're here to help you create your high vibe business.
Awesome. This is going to be a lot of fun today, Laura. We both have been running our businesses for a little while, having a little bit of fun. And I think, oftentimes when you hear people on podcasts, you see them on videos, you hear them talk about their stories, you never really get to think about the times that it wasn't so great for them. You never think about their struggles, their issues, or maybe things to go through. So I think this is kind of a fun episode to a little bit show of our human side of, some of the stuff that we went through when we weren't so high vibe.
I appreciate that. It's kind of funny that we're doing this one today because just yesterday I had a message from one of my clients basically thanking me for being real like that. And actually she was thanking you and I both.
I got the same message.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it matters, you guys. And so we're just trying to be authentic here. And again, grab your hand and take you with us on this journey. It is about being authentic. Authentic is high vibe. And so sharing our stories today, we're hoping that it's going to help you realize, if we can do this, you can do this.
Yeah, that's 100% the truth. For me, I went a lot of my years not showing the world who Donnie was. So I'm really kind of hell bent on this mission to, let my geeky side out, and talk about some of the things I'm into, because what I know and what I told that young lady yesterday when she sent me that message is the more that I've shared kind of the stuff that I've gone through, the more it's helped other people on their journey. So I'm really excited to dive in. So the focus, as we talked about, is diving in and talking about, stories when our businesses just weren't so high vibe. And I'll start off because mine's really top of mind, really easy. And it's when I launched my business. And the funny thing is I was so excited to launch my business that I was scared to death, right? I mean, it freaked me out to do all this. But I had no thought in my head when I first started that this wasn't going to work at all. I mean, I thought this was going to be a rock star until I got my first no and somebody didn't want to work with me. And then I think for about the next 20 days, I mentally beat myself up going, was this a mistake? Why did I do this? What the hell was I thinking? As I went through this, and I thought, I'm Donnie. Everybody should love Donnie. I mean, that's what's going through my head, right? And then, and yeah, I just said that out loud. But, but the truth is, I thought I kind of had the magic sauce for people. I thought that my gifts, my skills, my ability was, just gonna be that thing that people were gonna run up and be like, holy cow, I want to be involved with that. But the moment I got that first no, I so over internalized that I stopped a lot of forward momentum in my business. And it took me quite a while to turn the corner. And it was that kind of realization that, look, not everybody's going to be a yes. I had to flip the switch and start celebrating the no's to understand that those no's just helped me get closer to the yes. How about you?
Yes, so much yes to that. It's actually about how many no's you can get.
Yeah.
So, and Yeah, like, I mean, the more no's you get, the closer you are to the yes, right? And I love everything about that, but mostly because it's all about that mindset again. And y'all might get tired of us talking about mindset, but if you master your mindset in your business, you are golden. And this is like the first thing is the mindset. It's funny, I had two ideas about like what that story was for me, and you said the first one, it was the fear. It was like going into that journey but all up in the fear of it. And then the second one was just the same type of thing as you said. You know, the first time I got a criticism for one of the most viral blogs I wrote out
Mm.
on the internet, I was paralyzed for at least a week. What a fucking waste of time that was. I mean, so instead of just getting back to it and writing the next awesome blog, I sat in my shit and just was so worried I had offended somebody. This one person. Like, why do we do that
Out
to
of
ourselves?
like 6 point something billion people or something, right?
Well, out of all the other, tons of comments that were actually really awesome,
Right.
I decided to read the one and be paralyzed by it. Yeah, don't do that stuff, you guys. If you can catch yourself faster and faster, that is the mastery of it. Flip it, go right back to your purpose, mission, passion, and then, you're usually good to go.
Well, I
So,
think that's an interesting thing to talk about when, is why do people so internalize the negative and not embrace the positive, right?
yeah.
It's every as we look at our feeds, there's a lot of people cheering us on. There's a lot of times, when you put something out, people are into your message, into your story, into your brand. But we can read 100 of those positive messages, and then all of a sudden, one tiny little negative thing comes in, and that becomes the beacon. That becomes that big thing you key on. Do you think that's because it's not necessarily just because they're not high vibe, or is that something that their self-esteem is coming into play, and it's a maybe a thought of them proving to themselves, well, yeah, I do suck.
We could talk all day long about what pieces are about them, but who cares? Like, what you think is not none of my business. Like,
Right.
I think that the talk is more about how we are responding in the moment with awareness. So yes and yes and yes, to all those questions you had. Like, yeah, it's about all of their stuff. But honestly, the second I get into the conversation about what their stuff is, I'm off my train track of my mission again.
Yeah.
And I need
Yeah.
to get right back on there. And you know what? I can take their information with a grain of salt, and I can learn something from it if there's something to pay attention to there. I do that too.
Oh,
But to
I
get
just thought
stuck
of it.
in it,
Another moment when I wasn't high vibe. I gave a speech, and it was at a women's prison, and I'd been invited
wow.
in. They had this religious ceremonies group. There was like 40 different religions that were in these classes. And what they were trying to get them to do is get them to embrace something so they could get out of their cycle of life. And this group was happening to use different types of religions. And it was, I mean, they had Indian, sweat tents even set up for some of the religions. I mean, it was really, really cool to see all these different varieties of things out there, from pagan to Wiccan. I mean, it was everything. It was really, really, really cool. And they had a graduation ceremony for completing this program, and I got brought in to be the keynote speaker. And somewhere along the way, and this was an all women's prison too. So now here I was, my baby blue eyes, standing in front of a bunch of women who haven't been around dudes in a long time. Funny side note is the guards told me as I was leaving that a lot of the pamphlets that had my picture on them had been stolen. So
Oh,
I'm on a prison wall now somewhere.
nice. Oh my God.
But um, as I was getting to the end of that speech, all of a sudden I got really, really, really self-conscious that I hadn't hit the powerful message that I needed to hit for these ladies to really light them up. And usually when you're in front of a room and you're speaking, you finish your speech, the person who introduced you walks up, shakes your hand and says, thank you for speaking. I literally finished my speech and walked off stage and went and sat in the audience. And I remember sitting in the audience going, what are you doing? And I'm talking to myself going, what the heck is going through your damn head? You just walked off stage. And then the gal that introduced me walked up and she goes, I'd like to have Donnie come up there and they hand me a gift thanking me for speaking and stuff. But it was, I, some reason, went so self-conscious in that moment going, you know, I'm not hitting the message to these ladies, going to get them to light up. And I did. I mean, I did everything I set out to be, but for 2 seconds I had this self-doubt creep in, so much so that I literally walked off a stage and sat in the audience. And what was amazing afterwards was the comments. So a lot of the prisoners got to stick around, and of course with a guard by, they got to ask me questions and stuff, but a lot of them were telling me how much the story had impacted them, how much that this inspired them, how much they wanted to change their life. And I kept telling myself, dude, that was all in your damn head. Every ounce of that was in your head. It had
Hmm.
nothing to do with your presentation, your speech, and everything else. And so it was just a great lesson for me that you have to stay in the high vibe moment when you're in the moment. Because if you let the self-doubt creep in, right, the gremlins creep in, or whatever you call your lady, I forget her name, you know, creep in, you know,
Yes.
it's you have got to turn off the noise and be in the moment.
That's like that quote, my mind is like a dark alley. I don't like to go there alone. Like, I mean, and it really is. I mean, the present moment is the only moment that you can do anything about this with your awareness. So that's why I say, like, the faster you are at checking that and realizing what you realized, is sometimes, doesn't happen until several moments later or several hours later or a week later in my case, where you kind of wake up to the fact that you're doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
I wonder how it would be if we could change it right in the moment. As soon as we get the thought in our head, we'd be like, oh wow, there I am doing that to myself again, that self-doubt thing. Let me just switch that up right now. Whoa. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever have some tricks that help you flip the switch? Because I have a couple that I do, that I employ, that when I've kind of been misery stacking for the day, you know, and for you guys, misery stacking is when you have one bad moment and then all of a sudden everything else starts stacking on top of it. You know, but do you have anything that you do to help you get out of the funk? I love the word funk.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things we can do. Of course, because I'm a writer, I use that tool a lot. But honestly, to shift the energy, which is what that is for me, I blast some awesome music. I go for a walk. I do a lot of different things. And there's, whatever turns you on, just to shift your energy and shift your mood. Movement can really help. So any kind of walk, exercise, connect with nature, stuff like that for me.
Yeah, my biggest one is definitely music. I will go find the right vibe and just crank the hell out of some music, because it when you're focused on music, it's harder to think about anything else. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's music without words. I just want the energy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you guys have followed me on Facebook and stuff, you know, it's film scores for me, or my big, you know, thing that I love to get into. But the second thing, you already said it, was take a walk. You know, a lot of times I practice my speeches that I'm going to do at bigger events, and I never go in with a canned speech, but I always want to rehearse the big moments of my story and how I'm going to say it, the impact behind those. So I find myself, when I get into one of those funks, is I'm going to go take a stroll, and then I'm going to put on a performance all by myself, you know, acting a fool out in the middle of the woods in the backside of the farm, walking the trails, because, you know, when you can put your energy into something else, it can't be negative, because you're doing that thing that just gets you off, right? That gets you excited, gets you jazzed up. So you're pushing that energy into a different direction, which totally helps me clear my head. And it's great for a lot of things, and a lot of things that I do.
I love that too. Definitely, I've been caught by neighbors as I walk down the street reciting poems and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And I love that. And it also, it's just funny, kind of makes you laugh, walking out there, talking to yourself. And it's just, I don't know, lightens up the mood in general.
It does. It does. You know, another silly thing that I do, my dogs think I'm crazy because I practice all my speeches on my dogs. You know,
They
they're
love
my audience.
listening. Yes, definitely. They're a great audience.
You know, you always get a positive response, right? Because you know, I consider every tail wag is like they're giving me a standing ovation. So you know, I
No
must be
doubt.
doing something right.
No
So
doubt.
so you know, as you've gone on your journey, you've found a lot of success in your business, and you're doing a lot of great things. We've got events and things coming up. When everything is going right, do you ever find yourself slipping into that no high vibe moment, or is it always sunshine and rainbows?
It seems like a roller coaster for me some days. A lot of high moments, a lot of crashes, but that's kind of like life too. You're just surfing the waves. Sometimes you're riding on that board high, and sometimes you got to fall off and do it again. So it's a little bit of both for me. If you guys believe in law of attraction, then you know that the more you can move into the positive energy, the more you're going to attract that positive energy. When you said stacking the miseries, or I think that's what you said,
Misery stacking, yeah.
I immediately thought about, once one thing goes wrong, then you start to think about that wrong thing, and all that negativity kind of pours
That's
in, the
why it stacks.
self-doubt. Yeah, and you just attract the next thing, right? So again, question is like, what if we could get really good at flipping it fast and
Ooh, let's
moving it
do
into,
happiness stacking.
yeah, there we go. Perfect.
You know,
I love that.
and
Joy stacking.
absolutely. And you know, I think that comes because people don't celebrate the wins.
No, yeah, I know.
You know, and it's always one of those things for me that I don't care how microscopic the win is, you've got to celebrate that. You know, did you have courage to go say hi at somebody at a network meeting? Did you, you know, make a reach out on social media? Did you write that book, that passage, that message that you meant to write? Did you, you know, do that poem? Did you, whatever it was, that small micro win, start stacking those wins because those are what help and attract more wins to come into your life. Don't look at all those wins and then get let one negative comment shut you down. You know, flip it. Go back to the top and read all the happy stuff.
And another way to stay in that energy is when your people around you are sharing their wins, check yourself. Are you immediately going into a thought like, oh,
Mm,
she got that, but I didn't? Or can you move into a celebratory energy with other people as they announce theirs
yeah,
too?
great
I've
point.
had to check myself, especially as an author. I see other authors making big publishing wins, doing awesome things. And I'm like, damn, I want to do that. What's wrong with me? No, like, congrats, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And then you can ask them questions. How did that happen for you? That's a way different energy.
Yeah, and there's one more that I thought about that sometimes when I get a speaking win, you know, there's been people I've compared myself to. I'm like in my head, and this is such no so not high vibe, but it's I'll see myself going, I bet they don't comment on my win. You're right,
Yes,
you know,
that's another one.
right. So, and
Yeah.
it's so horrible to do because I try and comment on their wins, but when they get the big speaking win, you know, out there, I have to really check myself and go, what the hell didn't I get my, you know, and the reason I didn't get that win, I didn't freaking submit for that damn speaking engagement, so
Yes.
we really have to learn to check our egos in the door to make sure that we're pushing in the right direction. And this is making me think it's a lot to do with self-awareness, you
It's
know.
everything is awareness.
Yeah.
Everything is awareness, you guys. So get good at it. Comparison is toxic. So as soon as you find yourself in there, realize what you're doing to yourself inside of you with that toxic energy. That's more than low vibe sometimes. And you made me think of another one. Gossip is so low vibe, you guys. If you're talking about other people in any kind of negative way, you're doing that inside of yourself physiologically. So don't do that to yourself. Don't be the one that starts those conversations. And if someone else does, walk away.
And what's interesting about gossip is they've done some science and some studies to show that most times when you're talking down about something you don't like about somebody else, you're really mad because you're seeing yourself in them.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do an exercise in a workshop one time, and they said write a letter to the person who annoys you the most. You tell them everything that annoys you about that person. And then when it was all said and done, they said, "Good, now write your name at the top and say hello." And I went, "Son of a bitch." Because it was. I mean, a lot of the things that the other person annoyed me were kind of little things that I found in myself that I just didn't care about.
Yeah.
Um, it's those little things. So we're
Yes.
gonna get stacked up against it to get out of here. We're gonna make these short and sweet episodes for you guys to make sure you can get them in as quick and often as you want to consume just some really good stuff around this
Yeah.
whole high
Joy
vibe.
stacking, you guys. Go do joy stacking.
Love it, love it, love it. So any thoughts or words, Miss Laura, to leave them with on this episode of the High Vibe Business Podcast?
No, I guess that's it. I love that joy stacking takeaway, and we've all been there in those moments in the past. We all have those stories. Move them out of you, share them with your fellow entrepreneurs, and get conversations going. You guys, it's the way to heal it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And guys, do us a favor. If you got any value out of this episode, leave us a review. And tell us what you thought. And be an honest review. We'd love the feedback on that. And if you think anybody else should hear this episode, this podcast, our stories, share it out with them. That really does a lot to help us find more healers that need more healing. So thank you guys for always tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay high vibe.
See ya.